We all love an underdog story. There's something about seeing someone rise from the bottom against all odds and come out on top that gives us a sense of hope and inspiration. Today we're going to take a look at some of the most memorable underdog moments in combat sports history. Mirko Cro Cop versus Kevin Randleman. In 2004, the PRIDE Heavyweight Grand Prix was in full swing, and one fighter stood out above the rest, the formidable Mirko Cro Cop. With an impressive record of 9 wins, including 2 draws with Takada and Silva, and just 1 loss to Nogueira, the Croatian was the favorite to win the tournament and earn a shot at heavyweight champion Fedor Emelianenko. But then came Kevin Randleman, a fighter with brute strength and takedown abilities against Cro Cop. The two men stood relatively still, but it wasn't long before Randelman made his move. He led Cro Cop into a corner and held on for a minute until the ref broke them up. Then he faked a shooting attempt that made Cro Cop drop his guard down for a moment, and just a few seconds later, Randelman threw a powerful left hook that landed on the Croatian's jaw, sending him crashing to the mat. Randelman then finished him off with a couple more fists to the jaw, causing the ref to stop the fight. With that, Cro Cop was out of the tournament and Randelman went on to face Emelianenko. George St. Pierre versus Matt Serra. We all thought that George St. Pierre had a stranglehold on the welterweight title after his easy victory over Matt Hughes in 2007, but boy were we wrong. Enter Matt Serra, the ultimate underdog. He had faced defeat after defeat against top fighters like BJ Penn, Din Thomas, and Karo Parisyan, but then he was given a shot at redemption on The Ultimate Fighter 4: The Comeback. Serra battled his way through the competition, defeating Pete Spratt, Shawnee Carter, and Chris Lytle in the finals to earn a guaranteed shot at GSP's title. And on April 7, 2007, the two fighters stepped into the octagon to make history. What happened next can only be described as jaw-dropping. In just 3 minutes and 25 seconds of the first round, Serra landed a series of hooks that rocked GSP and sent him tumbling to the ground. Serra then finished him off with ground and pound, creating the greatest upset in MMA history. Who would have thought that the ultimate underdog would take down the seemingly unbeatable champ? It just goes to show you that anything can happen in the world of MMA. Randy Couture versus Tim Sylvia. Up next, we have another incredible tale of the ultimate underdog. It's the story of a man who defied the odds, broke records, and left his opponents in the dust. That man is none other than Randy the Natural Couture. Coming out of retirement and with 2 straight losses to Chuck Liddell, Randy faced another formidable opponent, Tim Sylvia, the reigning heavyweight champion of the UFC. And get this, Randy was just 3 months away from turning 44 years old and was fighting at a weight class that gave him problems in the past. You might be thinking this is a recipe for disaster, but Randy had other plans. He had been the king of upsets before and he was ready to do it again. Then, on March 3rd, 2007, the world watched in awe as Randy Couture dominated Tim Sylvia for 5 rounds. He almost knocked out the towering Sylvia in the first few seconds of the fight, leaving fans wondering if they were witnessing a miracle. But it wasn't just luck or chance that brought Randy back to the top. His body and mind were in their A game. When the dust settled, Randy had claimed the heavyweight belt and the world knew that he was back. Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor. Known for his entertaining fighting style and impressive submission game, Nate was beloved by fans all over the world. At the same time, there was a man named Conor McGregor, a true superstar in the sport, who was supposed to fight Rafael dos Anjos. Unfortunately, fate had other plans, and dos Anjos had to withdraw from the fight due to an injury. Enter Nate Diaz. Given only 11 days to prepare for the fight, no one gave him much of a chance against the unstoppable McGregor, who was riding a 15-fight winner fashion. But time, and it cemented Nate Diaz's status as a true legend of the sport. Josh Burkman versus John Fitch. It was a classic case of the underdog upsetting the established star. John Fitch had been a dominant force in the welterweight division for years, so it was a surprise when he was let go by the UFC. But when he signed with WSOF, it seemed like he was ready to reignite his career. that's when Josh Burkman stepped up to the plate. Burkman was a scrappy fighter with a heart of gold and a chip on his shoulder. He had been overlooked his entire career, but he was determined to make a name for himself. When he stepped into the cage with Fitch, no one gave him a chance. Fitch was the favorite and everyone assumed he would dominate the fight, but Burkman had other plans. From the opening bell, Burkman was relentless. He attacked Fitch with fury, landing punches and kicks with precision. Fitch tried to fight back, but he was clearly outmatched. And then, in the blink of an eye, Burkman initiated a guillotine choke. Fitch struggled to escape, but it was no use. Burkman had him trapped, and he wasn't letting go. Seconds later, Fitch was unconscious, and Burkman was the victor. It was a stunning upset that no one saw coming. Fabricio Werdum versus Fedor Emelianenko. Fedor Emelianenko, the last emperor, was a force to be reckoned with in the way, known for his unbeatable record and unmatched skills in the heavyweight division. He had defeated some of the greatest fighters of his time, including Antonio Rodrigo, Mirko Cro Cop, and Mark Coleman, and was considered by many the greatest fighter in the history of the sport. When he stepped into the cage with Fabricio Werdum, he was expected to continue his unbeatable streak. However, Werdum had other plans. Despite being the underdog, Werdum managed to catch Fedor in a triangle armbar combination, forcing him to submit for the first time in his career. The victory was a shock to the MMA world, and it catapulted Werdum to the top of the rankings. He became one of the favorites to win the Strikeforce Heavyweight Grand Prix tournament, and his name was forever etched in the record books as the man who ended the incredible winning streak of Fedor Emelianenko. Junior Dos Santos versus Fabricio Werdum. Junior Dos Santos made a statement in his UFC debut by delivering a huge upset over Fabricio Werdum, who was considered a top contender in the heavyweight division at the time. Despite having a relatively unknown record and being only 24 years old, Dos Santos showed that age is just a number in the fight game. Werdum may have underestimated Dos Santos, and it cost him dearly. He chose to exchange punches with the young and hungry boxer, but he didn't realize that he was about to face a powerhouse. Dos Santos landed a thunderous uppercut to Werdum's chin, sending him crashing to the mat in just 1 minute and 21 seconds into the fight. It was a stunning finish that made the UFC take notice of the young Brazilian's potential. BJ Penn versus Matt Hughes. Back in 2004, BJ Penn was in a bit of a tight spot. The UFC had just disbanded the lightweight division and he was left without a clear weight class. But when he was given a shot at welterweight champion Matt Hughes, Penn saw an opportunity to make a statement. Hughes was a big, powerful wrestler who had dominated the division for years, so naturally, Penn was seen as a significant underdog going into the fight. But Penn had a secret weapon, his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Late in the first round, Penn stunned Hughes with a big punch, sending him stumbling to the mat. Instead of going for the knockout, Penn pounced on his opponent's back and sunk in a rear naked choke, forcing the champion to tap out and giving Penn the upset victory. It was the beginning of a legendary career for Penn and a reminder that sometimes the smallest fighters can pack the biggest punch. Forrest Griffin versus Mauricio Shogun Rua. In 2007 at UFC 76 Knockout, Forrest Griffin faced off against the formidable Mauricio Shogun Rua, who was widely considered the best light heavyweight fighter in the world. Although Griffin didn't have an impressive list of victories, he was eager to take on the challenge. The fight was controlled by Griffin, who set a high pace that left both men exhausted. Rua, known for his stamina, struggled in the second round and spent a lot of time on his back. As the third round drew to a close, it seemed that Griffin would win by decision, but with just 15 seconds left, he took Rua's back and secured a rear naked choke, forcing the once dominant fighter to tap out. This victory was not only the biggest of Griffin's career, but also one of the most shocking upsets in MMA history. So that's all for today's episode, folks. If you enjoyed watching, leave a like and share it with your friends. You can also comment and let us know what you'd like to see from this channel in the future. Also, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. You'll want to check out our other videos. Stay tuned for more awesomeness. Thanks for watching.